I've been involved in Lolita fashion and community for quite a while now, and I've been very fortunate to be able to participate and travel and visit multiple different communities, and it has opened my eyes and ears to a lot of things. The Lolita community sort of runs in cycles, where one clique of people will be particularly active for a certain amount of time, and then some of them will leave the community, some new people will join, and experiences and stories get passed down. I'm speaking mainly about in-person communities, but of course, a lot of this happens in an online space as well, and sometimes we get a little bit lost in the sauce. I became interested in this after making my video about Lolita pattern controversies and how those stories got misstrewn and details were mixed up about it, and I started to wonder what other legends and myths are there in the Lolita community, because I feel like a lot of us will just accept the things that others tell us. I've experienced something interesting where I will hear a story in a Lolita community and then I will travel to another part of the world and hear almost the exact same story, but with slightly different details and a lot of missing sources. Now, I'm not here to debunk them all. I'm just here for entertainment. Hopefully, I can keep you company while you do that important work. Or you're avoiding that important work. Or maybe you're doing some household chores. Here are some stories that can keep you company. Because this is all for fun, I'm going to leave out some of the details in where I heard these stories or people that may or may not be involved, and don't even try. I'm going to block any names from my comments from people who may be in these stories. I don't want to stir up any old drama. We're just here to have a little fun. In the 2010s, there was a Lolita who would post to Daily Lolita Live Journal, always in front of these very intense yellow walls. Painfully yellow. I'm not sure why they looked like this, if it was because of camera quality at the time or the lighting, or if they were actually just this vivid in real life. But that is not what makes this Lolita so special. What was iconic and mesmerizing about them was that they owned so much moitié. Moitié is one of the more expensive brands even now, but back then, not only was it expensive, it was really difficult to acquire. I didn't even think about getting moitié until it was available on Wonderwell. Even in the secondhand market, moitié pieces were and are sparse and very expensive. This Lolita also had pieces that were very rare that you would have had to go to events for. Some of them were like raffled pieces. However, the Yellow Wall Lolita was harshly criticized online because they didn't look like the typical moitié model. They were not very expressive in their poses. Their photos were not the highest quality, and people often said that they lacked styling skills. Many comments would state things like, owning brand doesn't make you a good Lolita. But I don't know that this person wanted to be a good Lolita. It's interesting that people discover Lolita fashion and brands in all sorts of different ways. And I think that people who wear moitié, sometimes they don't even see themselves as Lolitas. They just are fans of Mana, and maybe they're just goths. My friends and I were enamored with the Yellow Wall Lolita. They were an enchanted cryptid to us. We didn't know who they were. We didn't know about their life. All we could see was this tiny glimpse into their moitié collection. And I can't speak to how they actually felt. It seems from their posts that English was their second language, and they didn't really share anything about themselves. However, they just exuded this type of unapologetic confidence that I really admire. If Mana is the god of Lolita fashion, then the Yellow Wall Lolita is a saint. Speaking of moitié, have you heard of the Moitie Coffin? The Sanctuary of Rose's casket is often regarded as the quintessential brand whore final resting place. Bury me in brand, they say, and for only $1,104, you can complete your burial with this branded casket. I've heard many Lolitas state that they will accept nothing less. But have you looked at the measurements of this casket? What is this? A casket for dolls?
Yeah, it is. This is not intended to be an actual casket. It was fitted for the Monasama Super Dolphy, and I knew that something was up with it when I looked it up and saw that the price was actually quite low for a burial casket. There was, however, a human-sized burial casket released by Victorian Maiden in 2001. However, it's a little bit basic looking. I mean, it is technically brand, but I think that this was intended to be more decor or storage. But hey, I think that there could be a market for branded caskets.
You know what there isn't a market for? Crusty old boots. I want to remind us all one more time that we are not here to bully or harass people, and I'm not bringing up this story to draw attention to this person. I'm only bringing up these tales so that we can see what we can learn from them. And I think there's an important lesson to be learned from these boots. So this icon is known for accidentally purchasing a $1,500 Lolita brand dress from a store in Japan that they thought was $150 because they misread the price tag, or their friend misread the price tag and misled them. And they made a sensationalized YouTube video about it, which unfortunately on YouTube, to be successful, you kind of have to lean into making things more shocking. You have to pose in your thumbnail like... But the real issue with their video and their story was that they did not understand Japanese retail culture, and that most stores are final sale, especially like higher end specialty stores. So you can't return things. The important thing to take from this story is that it is really important to really fact check the price and exchange rate of items that you are purchasing, be respectful of store employees, and understand store policies before making a purchase, and be, willing to look into that and really research before committing to buy something, especially in another country that you're unfamiliar with. But she took the video down. We can all stop dragging her for that. The important lesson to learn for this next story is that there are certain items which you just shouldn't expect to resell. You shouldn't ask for money for them, even if they are brand. I feel like if these were unbranded shoes, they would have been thrown away. And brand items still depreciate in value. Just having a brand on them doesn't inherently give them value. These boots are in such bad condition, I feel like most thrift stores would even deny having them. Thrift stores have policies around taking overly damaged items, so why are you asking for $19 for them on Depop? I understand that $19 is still much lower than the retail cost of these boots, but there's not much boot left. And these boots were already previously owned, so this person was the second owner. I feel like these are boots that should just be given away to someone. Maybe have someone cover the cost of shipping if you're mailing it to them. But to ask for any money for these boots is kind of ridiculous. I would love to see these in the hands of someone like the way that Moira Elizabeth saves squishies. I feel like because they're that kind of fake leather plastic, maybe you could paint them and restore them. That would be neat to see. But it's also okay when you've worn something out to the point where it's just done to throw them away. I think that this also supports my idea that brand shoes kind of suck. They're kind of poor quality and don't last, so maybe Angelic Pretty should stick to just making dresses and accessories. That's what they're really good at. And if we stop buying their low quality shoes, maybe they'll stop making them. I don't know. Again, this is old, so maybe Angelic Pretty has upped the quality of their shoes. I don't know. I'm not gonna risk it for the biscuit. Can anyone confirm in the comments, are Angelic Pretty shoes any better than they were 5 to 10 years ago? It says that this listing sold, but I can't know for sure because on Depop you can also just manually go in and mark it sold. Very curious where these boots ended up. If you know, let me know. In case you liked that dress in the last segment, it is Miss Point Woody Rose Pure Color Lolita OP. I have a review of it in my shorts, and it is still available through 42 Lolita in a couple different colors and various sizes. Spoiler, in an upcoming section I will be wearing this dress, which is the Chess Story Doll Theater OP from the Doll Theater series, which is also still available through 42 Lolita. I have these linked below, and if you use my links, you'll get a discount, as well as anytime you shop with 42 Lolita and use my code. Plus, this helps support my channel. There are tons of options for Lolita fashion shopping on 42 Lolita. They're super easy to shop from. Just navigate through their website and add whatever you would like to your cart. It is important to note that the processing time varies from item to item, and some items may not be readily available. Some of them are pre-orders, so please pay attention and look closely to each listing. You can organize the site in many different ways, like color, size, brand. This can really be helpful if you are looking for something specific. 42 Lolita is a Taobao reseller, so what you order from them ships directly to you, and they are known to have some of the lowest markup, with their quantity of items growing every day. They are a great option for new and existing Lolitas. They carry quality footwear, main pieces, accessories, have a great selection of wigs, and even more. It can be satisfying even just to browse through their website and social media, giving you lots of ideas of how to style Lolita. Something else of note is this clown set. It ships in about 3 months, so if you are looking for something circusy for Halloween, it might be time to start thinking about it. Thank you so much 42 Lolita for sponsoring this video and supporting my content. This story intrigues me because I've heard it in so many different places with slightly varying details, but what I most commonly hear is a $500 Lolita necklace was stolen and then worn by a Lolita parading it around their community. And then the details around it tend to vary. I usually hear that it's some sort of $500 brand necklace. I've heard it told that it was a $500 Angelic Pretty Choker, that it was a $500 Moitie necklace, it was a $500 Vivienne Westwood necklace. Please, no one steal this, please. I believe I have found the origins of where this story came from. Now, the person that this story involves is no longer in the Lolita community, is nowhere near the Lolita community. Please do not seek them out. While researching for this video, I found that the ways that people speak about them and wrote about them is really, really horrible. They said really awful things about them, and this person is not innocent. They have done a number of unsavory things, but I still believe that they don't deserve to be talked about the way that they have. There was a lot of horrible stuff written about their body and their appearance, and I really recommend not looking this up, not reading it, because I think that even reading about it could be potentially triggering. It's all bad. It's all bad. Just listen to my story and then we'll move on. Leave them be. I believe that this person was also very mentally unwell, and I hope that they are doing better now, and I think that it's good that they are fully removed from all of this. The story goes that this person allegedly stole a Moitie necklace from another Lolita's home and then gave it to their partner, and that their partner wore it to events and meetups and sort of paraded it around. I cannot confirm if the partner knew that it was stolen, but people claim that the partner knew, and it was like also some type of power move. When the burglar Lolita was confronted about it, they fully denied it and said that they purchased the choker at a convention. I looked into this choker, and it appears to be the Dot Tool choker released by Moitie in 2006, and it retailed for 4,620 Japanese yen, or about $31 USD, which It still should not have been stolen. That can still have an impact on a person, but it goes to show that the details of stories can really become warped. I even looked at these chokers for sale secondhand, and they still seem to go for about $30 to $65. So what happened to the choker? Allegedly, it was sold in EGL.com sales at the time. I cannot find a listing for this, but I don't doubt it. Which is super lame. If it was in fact stolen, they should have returned it to the original owner. They never should have stolen it in the first place. I could see how it could be possible that someone did not like this Lolita and perhaps claimed that they stole it to make them look bad. I feel like that's unlikely, but it is something, I guess, to consider in this. There are a lot of stories around theft in Lolita, and I can't find a lot of hard evidence around them. A lot of people will share this story as well about a brand having their clothing stolen from a fashion show at a convention, but what the brand is and what the convention was, every time I hear this story, has different details. So like, is this something that's happening a lot? Or is this one story that has spiraled out of control? Similarly to how I always hear about a $500 necklace being stolen, is there some other necklace that was stolen, or is everyone just mixing around the details and this is becoming a myth and Lolita folklore? Now, a necklace that definitely would not get stolen was the real cookie necklace.
This was a great transition until I realized it was a brooch, not a necklace.
Now, I should have included this in my cursed items video, but I thought that everyone knew about this. I thought that when you swore into Lolita, part of the sacred oath was, I will not make an acrylic covered cookie. But I still see it floating around as if it's news, so let me do my due diligence and tell you about it. In 2013, a Lolita purchased a decorative cookie
Brooch.
And decorative food jewelry is really common in Lolita fashion. It's often made out of paper clay, polymer clay, PVC, and the most notable brands to make them are Q-Pot and BB&B Deco, although also Lolita clothing brands have made accessory lines with food to go along with food prints. There's a lot of individual smaller artists and indie brands that make food jewelry as well. This is the necklace that the person purchased, and the story is just too beautifully written for me to try to even retell. Let me just read it to you. There it sat for a few weeks. Maybe it was a change of temperatures or humidity or whatever, but it cracked. I was peeved. I paid $10 for it and I figured I could glue it, and as I went to do so, I found crumbs. Flaky doughy bits that were unlike paper clay or any other deco medium I was familiar with. It had gotten soft the way that graham crackers do when they go stale. This is when I began to wonder if I paid $10 for an acrylic glazed cookie with a bow glued to it. I sat it on my desk and went about my day, but it's left a prickling feeling at the back of my neck. I was laying in bed half asleep until a few minutes ago, but my anxieties have finally pushed me. I could either glue it together and fix it, or force the crack more and reveal its secrets. For one thing, for all my searching, I can't find a mold for a Marie biscuit, but I can find the biscuits themselves for as low as $2.99. Well, this is just a tiny bit disturbing and particularly hilarious. Maybe I'm biased because I already know the outcome of this story, and hindsight is always 20/20. But to me, does this look like anything besides a cookie that is covered in acrylic? Sculpted and molded jewelry does not look this hyper realistic, and most of it has this almost beautified quality that makes it almost cartoony in nature. I just find that it still has this like crafted look that I can't quite describe, that doesn't look like this. This has become more common in recent times with unreputable sites selling acrylic covered baked goods. Macaroon has covered this topic with exposing these croissant lamps, and in her videos you can see how a real croissant looks compared to the molded ones. I find these videos really interesting, and I think that they can help you see what to look for if you're unfamiliar with looking at sculptures versus real things, and you can kind of find identifying details to look for when you're buying fake food. The artist did not deny that it was in fact a cookie, a real cookie sealed in acrylic, but they stated that it should not have cracked, and they offered to replace any of the jewelry that people had bought if it was doing this, and that they would look into a different way to seal their products so that they shouldn't crack. Now, I'm not sure what has happened in the years since this, because it's been over 10 years now, but this artist is still active. However, they don't sell any acrylic anything. They have really cute brooches, and I'm hesitant to share them in this video because I don't want to send harassment their way. So I'm going to link to their store in the description, kind of buried. And only go there if you are interested in purchasing these products and you want to support them. This way you have to really seek it out, and if the artist is uncomfortable with me sharing this, I can easily remove it from the video.
The next two stories involve kink and fetish, so if you are underage or if you do not wish to hear about these topics, please skip to this timestamp. I promise I will wrap this video up with something silly and wholesome. This was covered in a last week Lolita news episode about 6 years ago, but I can't make a video about Lolita fashion cryptids without mentioning Trucklita. This image still circulates, and unsuspecting friends will send it to me without knowing the true horrors behind it. This person did not participate in the Lolita community with pure intentions. It is arguable if they were even a Lolita at all. This person was a sissy, and I believe that the dress they are wearing is actually a sissy dress, not a Lolita dress. The reason I believe this is because I cannot cross-reference a photo of this dress anywhere else, and the person did post about ordering a custom sissy dress, which does look very similar to this. Other people have come forward and said that this person has used their Lolita images against their will for kink and interacted with them inappropriately and non-consensually. I don't think that I need to say anything else about this. I don't want to give this too much attention. All you need to know is that Trucklita isn't real. Truck sissy is. This is the part where there's a lot to explain. If I saw this coordinate, I would keep scrolling. To me, it's pretty unremarkable. It just looks like a typical casual Lolita coordinate. I know that to some Lolitas, wearing a t-shirt, especially a crop top, could be considered a sin, but to me, it's pretty typical for casual Lolita. I don't care. But if you look closer, you will notice that this Lolita is wearing a face harness, which created a huge, monumental stir in Closet of Frills where this was posted. People were upset with the fact that they were subjected to seeing something involving kink without being able to give consent, and they were concerned about the presence of minors in this group. Let me clear something up real quick. This is not a practical face harness. This was not created by an adult company. This is essentially an accessory made by the brand Fecal Matter, who does make pieces inspired by kink and fetish, but they do not make specific fetish gear meant to be used in acts, which is something that confused a lot of people. Fecal Matter is a fashion house whose motto is provoke society, and they release intentionally avant-garde things to express different meanings. This face harness was created to make the wearer pout and pucker, and in interviews they have alluded to this being a representation of a post-Instagram world and the feelings of pressure around beauty standards and plastic surgery. It wasn't built for literal face fuck. I get it though, it is shocking looking. It does look similar to alphabet letters hardware, but that's the point. It's supposed to be a statement piece to get you thinking and talking. However, Face Harness Chan, who I will now refer to as FHC, definitely did mix Lolita fashion in with kink in a way that makes most Lolitas feel uncomfortable, and we could see this from their other posts on Instagram. Typically, because of the wrong associations with the book, most Lolitas try to keep anything sexual away from the fashion and community. I do think that there can be experimental Lolita coordinates that incorporate kink-inspired elements, but I'm not sure if Closet of Frills is the place for that. And the problem is that Closet of Frills didn't take a strong stance. They were sort of wishy-washy with their responses. They didn't want to take down the post because they didn't want to be seen as censoring people, but then they also were defending the fact that they had minors in the groups because they didn't allow children, but they did allow teenagers, but teenagers are still minors. So what should they have done? For starters, ban all minors. It's easy. Why do they need to be there in the first place? I'm sorry if you were a minor watching this. Why are you watching this section? I told you not to. There is enough public information in the world that minors don't need to be in a group like Closet of Frills, and they shouldn't be seeking validation from strangers on the internet, especially adults. And trust me, I know, as someone who has been blogging since I was 14 years old, it still affected me in ways that I am unpacking, and I wish that I hadn't. I think that it would be okay for teenagers to have a group with their peers, with other teenagers, and talk about fashion, but it's really weird to have a group with adults and teenagers in it where there's, all different power imbalances. Like, a teenager's not going to have access to the same types of pieces and outfits that like an adult with a job would. It's weird. I don't think that teenagers should be in Closet of Frills. Even with the think of the children aspect removed, there are still going to be adults that don't want to see this. So it's up to Closet of Frills to make it really clear in their terms what the people in the group are going to see and what they might come across. Or they need to take a really strong stance against any kink or adult themes at all. It's been a long time since I've used Facebook, so I don't know if this is an actual option, but it would be better if experimental coordinates that feature adult themes or pieces be marked as a spoiler, so that the user won't just see it, they have the moment where they can choose whether they want to click to reveal it or move along. I am not sure what Closet of Frills terms became after this incident, but those are my ideas. Take it or leave it. We know that FHC was trying to cause a stir because they posted about it on their other platforms. They were baiting you, and all of the commenters gave them that. So before you get caught up in some long heated debate in the comments section, consider that you might actually be feeding someone's wants. And sometimes it's better to just keep scrolling. A common activity for Lolitas is the picnic potluck, where Lolitas will gather in a public park, everybody brings a food item, and just hangs out. These are typically more casual meets, but sometimes they can have a theme. They really vary in size, and the thing about Lolitas is that we're very extra. So a lot of the times people will make really ornate food items, but it's definitely not necessary. I'm not even a cook or a baker myself, but I once made angelic pretty type sugar cookies, and ever since then I haven't really put in as much effort. I will usually just grab a good veggie tray or fruit platter. There is a tale that I have heard from several different communities of an ultra sweet Lolita showing up decked out in head-to-toe angelic pretty, and the item that they brought for the potluck was packaged meat. Now, the details of what the packaged meat was has changed depending on who I've heard it from, but my favorite variation is ham slices. Now, I'm not talking about a charcuterie board or a cheese and meat platter. I'm just talking about one of those deli meat sandwiches, slices. This Lolita is not infamously hated. There's always going to be people that show up to these type of events that don't bring anything at all, and I think that is the problem, It is a bit strange, though, to just bring sliced ham. That's not usually something that's like a finger food or an appetizer that people will eat. But I think it's kind of hilarious, and that we should have a specific meetup where everyone just brings a individually packaged item that you wouldn't typically eat on its own. I think that there should be a ham slices Lolita print dress. I have 9 more stories that I don't have enough information on to fully tell you. So if there are any Lolita historians out there, please send me an email, because if you like this video, I would love to develop and research those stories more and be able to make another one. I want to thank Doll Funeral for allowing me to film these segments here. I think this setting is perfect for these stories. If you are into creepy and cute aesthetics, please come visit the Doll Funeral store. They carry their in-house brand Gloomith, and then they also have a ton of consignment pieces, and their stock is always changing, so it doesn't hurt to follow them online so that way you don't miss out on new items. If you are unable to come in and stop by, you can buy Gloomith online as well as some of their consignment pieces too. Fecal matter is a... I feel very silly saying this, but... oh, well. Fecal... I am a reporter. I am a reporter. I am a historian. I am a Lolita fashion community historian. I wrote this so well, and I am having difficulty expressing it, and I'm really mad at that. I need a teleprompter, man. Life would be so much better with a teleprompter.
That was such an intense sneeze. This is my evidence, my proof that I'm allowed to talk about moitié, because I own some moitié. I didn't get changed because I'm filming other videos today, but here it is. Here's my moitié card. That's everything I needed to say. Cool.